Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to be part of tonight and for allowing me to share some of my story with you. I apologize if I seem a bit nervous and my voice becomes shaken. I'm good at a lot of things, but public speaking is not one of them. Ask me to build a machine gun from a pile of parts or bake a cheesecake from scratch, and I'll impress you with my skills. But if you ask me to speak in front of 3 or more people, it's a completely different experience. I first learned about the Single Parent Scholarship Fund of Northwest Arkansas in the fall semester of 2022. I had just returned from a deployment to the Middle East, and I realized that I needed to do something different with my life. Up until the deployment, I had been laboring for most of my adult life. Luckily, my best friend talked me into enrolling in NWAC for the construction technology program. I would end up switching my goals the next semester in hopes of becoming a social worker to give back to my community. My journey started as a young father to a beautiful baby girl. I was a new soldier in the Arkansas Army National Guard and was just trying to find my way into adulthood. 2 years later, my oldest son was born. Unfortunately, I quickly found myself raising them on my own. When their mother chose her addiction over our family, I felt lost and alone, but I had to keep going so that I could support my family and be a good father. My first experience with the family court system in Benton County was less than pleasant. My ex and I had agreed on custody arrangements, divided the expenses of the children, agreed to weekly shared custody of our children, and agreed to no child support. Our judge did not think it was fair that I made $100 more a week than my ex, so he ordered that I pay child support. And this left a financial strain on my children and I, as I was already paying child support while fully supporting them. I worked as hard as possible to be both a father and a provider, but my relationship with my ex became increasingly difficult. I discovered that she was using illegal substances again and had put our children in danger. I spent many nights driving around town for hours searching for my children. I ended up losing one of the most stable jobs I've had at Glad Manufacturing due to attendance issues during this time. It was a hard blow to take, but I was more focused on the well-being of my children, and I'll never forget that period of my life. Shortly after my son turned 4 months old, it was my week to have the children, but that week turned into 2 weeks. Those 2 weeks turned into a month, and that month turned into a year. I can strongly remember my daughter asking me why her mom didn't want her, and if it was her fault that her mom wasn't around. She wasn't old enough to understand the situation, and I could see how much it hurt her every day. As a newly single parent, I didn't know how to cope with this other than to constantly reassure her that it wasn't her fault. This is one of the worst times I can remember as a single parent. And eventually, enough time had passed, and I was able to take my ex back to court for full custody of the children. She never responded to the subpoena and didn't feel the need to attend court. Her arrest record had grown, and she was spiraling further into addiction. The judge had had enough, and I finally felt that I had the support of the people around me. I was granted sole custody of the children, and I had been given complete control over if or when their mother saw them. And I was finally able to protect my children from the evil that is drug addiction. My children are now 8 and 6, and they have another brother, my youngest son, who is now 4. And I have been in the Arkansas Army National Guard for just over 10 years, completed one overseas tour of duty, and am currently enrolled in the ROTC program. I have always done the best I can with the help of my family and friends. I'm studying to obtain my Bachelor of Social Work from the University of Arkansas after having already earned my Associate's of Arts degree from the Northwest Arkansas Community College. After I complete my BSW, I hope to earn my Master of Social Work. Initially, I plan on working as a counselor with a focus on marriage and families, but the more I learn about social work, the more I'm convinced that I have no idea what exactly I want to do or what population I want to work with long term. My passion for social work continues to grow, and I am growing with it. I have, however, been able to determine a few things that are important to me during my journey: my family, my military career, and my village. It takes a village to raise a family, and although I do not know the origin of that quote, I've spent the last 8 years learning the importance of its meaning. My village consists of a few close friends and family members, and all of you here tonight, so thank you. There have been many times that your generous donations have greatly benefited my family, The most recent Back to School scholarship allowed me to provide new clothes and supplies for my children when we were struggling. I don't think I could have made it this far without the Single Parent Scholarship Fund or its incredible donors. Thank you to the Single Parent Scholarship Fund of Northwest Arkansas. Thank you to the generous donors. And thank you all for your support, influence, resources, and compassion.